Welcome back, Cowboys Nation, and thanks for being here today, because we have a massive, layered situation to unpack surrounding Trayvon Diggs, the Dallas Cowboys secondary, and what could be one of the most pivotal stretches of this entire season. This isn't just another injury update, or a routine roster note. This is a story about timing, trust, money, chemistry, and the future direction of a defense that has been searching for consistency while trying to maintain its identity. Trayvon Diggs being designated to return near the end of November immediately reignited debate across the fanbase, the locker room, and the league. Some fans see his return as the missing piece that could stabilize a shaky secondary. Others worry that bringing him back too quickly could do more harm than good, both for Diggs personally and for a defense that has already been forced to adapt and evolve in his absence. The key thing to understand right away is that designation to return does not equal automatic availability. It simply opens a window. Diggs has been grinding through rehab, conditioning work, and football-specific drills, but that final step of being cleared for game action is never guaranteed. Even if he suits up, the question becomes how effective he can realistically be after weeks away from live reps. Cornerback is one of the most timing-dependent positions in football. It's not just about speed or strength. It's about footwork, anticipation, communication, and trust with the safety help behind you. Miss a step or misread leverage by half a second, and it can turn into a chunk play or a touchdown. That's the tightrope the Cowboys are walking right now. What makes this situation even more complicated is how much the Cowboys secondary has changed during Diggs' absence. The depth chart is not the same one he left behind. Young players have been thrust into roles they may not have expected this early, and some have responded better than anticipated. Savion Revel, drafted in April, has become one of the most talked about names in the defensive meeting room. While he's far from a finished product, he's shown flashes that suggest real upside. His length, physicality, and confidence have earned him snaps in key situations, and in certain matchups, he's even been favored over more established names. That alone changes the calculus for how Diggs fits back into the rotation. Then you have DaRon Bland, a player many fans expected to take a leap this season, who has instead delivered an uneven performance. There have been moments of solid coverage and smart positioning, but also stretches where he's struggled to consistently lock down his assignment. Reddy Stewart has chipped in where needed, providing depth and versatility, but he hasn't emerged as a clear difference maker. Meanwhile, Trayvon's potential return could push Trick Bridges even further down the pecking order, raising questions about how the coaching staff plans to allocate snaps and responsibilities moving forward. This isn't just about who plays. It's about where they play. If Diggs returns, does Bland shift more permanently into the nickel role? Does Revel remain on the outside, learning on the fly against top-tier receivers? Do the Cowboys ease Diggs back with limited snaps, or do they throw him into the fire and let him find his rhythm in real time? Each option carries risk. Limited snaps could disrupt continuity. Full snaps could expose Diggs if he's not fully ready. And benching a young player who's earned reps could stall development and impact confidence. These are the kinds of decisions that define seasons. Looking back at Trayvon Diggs' career with the Cowboys only adds more complexity. His 2021 season remains one of the most explosive by any defensive back in recent memory. 11 interceptions don't happen by accident. That kind of production requires instincts, confidence, and a willingness to gamble. At his best, Diggs changes how offenses call games. Quarterbacks hesitate. Coordinators roll coverage away from his side. Even when he's not making plays on the ball, his presence shapes the field. But the flip side of that aggressive style has always been risk. When Diggs guesses wrong or gets isolated without help, the results can be ugly. Big gains. Broken coverages. Momentum swings. Over the past few seasons, those highs and lows have become more pronounced. Injuries have limited his availability. Scheme changes have altered his role. Communication breakdowns in the secondary have exposed vulnerabilities. Some fans blame Diggs. Others blame the system. Many point to the coaching philosophy and question whether the Cowboys are putting their defensive backs in positions that maximize strengths rather than expose weaknesses. Under Matt Eberfluss's influence on defensive concepts, there's been ongoing debate about whether the scheme demands too much precision from corners without enough margin for error. Savion Revel's experience highlights this challenge perfectly. He's clearly talented, but his penalties and occasional lapses underscore how difficult it is to execute at this level, especially after time away from competitive football. Learning NFL coverage rules, route combinations, and quarterback tendencies is a steep curve. When you add the pressure of being targeted by elite receivers every week, mistakes are inevitable. DaRon Bland's inconsistency only amplifies the issue. The secondary hasn't had a true anchor, and that's why Diggs' potential return is being framed as more than just another body coming back from injury. It's about stability. It's about leadership. It's about restoring some sense of order to a unit that's been under constant scrutiny. But even stability comes with caveats. Diggs' physical readiness remains a question mark. Recovery is not linear. A player might feel good one day and tight the next. Conditioning after injury is another hurdle entirely. Football shape is different from gym shape. The speed of the game, the angles, the collisions, the mental processing, all of it takes time to recalibrate. Rushing that process can lead to compensatory injuries or setbacks that derail not just a few games, but entire seasons. The Cowboys know this. The medical staff knows this. And yet the pressure to win now is real. Beyond the X's and O's, there's a human element that cannot be ignored. Trayvon Diggs' relationship with the coaching staff, particularly Brian Schottenheimer, has been a topic of quiet but persistent discussion. Publicly, Schottenheimer has praised Diggs' talent, work ethic, and competitive fire. But subtle comments over time have hinted at moments of friction, especially around communication and accountability. This isn't uncommon in professional sports. High-level athletes and coaches often clash over expectations, roles, and feedback. But when those dynamics involve a high-profile player with a massive contract, the stakes are higher. Trust is everything in football. Trust between cornerbacks and safeties. Trust between players and coaches. Trust that when you take a risk, the system will protect you. Any erosion of that trust can show up on the field in hesitation, miscommunication, or lack of cohesion. Diggs' return isn't just about plugging him back into the lineup. It's about reintegrating him into a culture and a system that has continued to evolve without him. Then there's the financial side, which looms over every decision. Trayvon Diggs' contract is one of the most flexible yet consequential deals on the Cowboys' books. 3 years, $57 million remaining, with no fully guaranteed money, gives the front office options. That flexibility is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it protects the team if Diggs' performance or health doesn't meet expectations. On the other, it creates uncertainty for the player and invites speculation about his long-term future in Dallas. Releasing Diggs after June 1 would free up significant cap space, potentially over $15 million, while spreading dead money across multiple seasons. Releasing him earlier changes the numbers but still offers savings. A restructure could lower his immediate cap hit while committing the team more firmly to him long-term. A trade, while frequently discussed by fans and analysts, remains unlikely given his injury history and current uncertainty. Teams are hesitant to give up premium assets for a player who hasn't consistently been on the field. Statistics further complicate the narrative. That 2021 interception total stands out, but it also sets a benchmark that Diggs hasn't matched since. Production has dipped. Availability has been inconsistent. The Cowboys have had to adjust, sometimes relying on younger players who aren't ready to shoulder that burden alone. Every time an opposing quarterback tests the secondary, The absence of a true ball hawk is felt. But chasing past production can be dangerous. The league evolves quickly. What worked 3 years ago doesn't always translate today. This brings us back to the core dilemma facing the Cowboys. Do they prioritize immediate impact and hope Diggs can provide a spark down the stretch? Or do they take a longer view, easing him back or even holding him out until he's unquestionably ready, even if that means enduring short-term struggles? Fans understandably want answers. They want to know if Diggs will play this week. They want to vote yes or no. But the reality is far more nuanced. Every practice rep matters right now. Every evaluation by the training staff. Every conversation between Diggs and the coaching staff. The margin for error is thin. A misstep could ripple through the standings, the locker room, and the front office's long-term plans. This isn't just about one player. It's about the identity of the Cowboys defense and the message the organization sends about health, performance, and accountability. As we move deeper into this discussion, it becomes impossible to separate Diggs' immediate return from his long-term future with the team. There is a growing sense around the league that the Cowboys are approaching a crossroads. Talent alone isn't the issue. Reliability is. Availability is. Fit within the evolving system is. Missed games, uneven performance, and perceived tension with leadership all feed into the narrative that tough decisions may be coming sooner rather than later. The Cowboys invested heavily in Diggs because they believed in his ceiling. That belief hasn't vanished, but it has been tested. Contracts in the NFL are not just about paying for past performance. They're about projecting future value. When injuries pile up and production declines, those projections become murkier. The fact that none of Diggs' remaining money is guaranteed is not an accident. It reflects the business side of the league, where flexibility is king. Young players like Savion Revel represent both hope and risk. His development could ease the sting of moving on from a veteran. But throwing a young corner into the deep end too soon can stunt growth. Integrating Diggs back into a rotation where Revel and others are still learning requires careful orchestration. Snap counts, matchups, and communication must be managed with precision. This is where coaching earns its paycheck. Off the field, interpersonal dynamics continue to play a role. Schottenheimer's comments, while supportive on the surface, suggest a push for greater alignment. In high-stakes environments, even minor misalignments can snowball. Players want clarity. Coaches want buy-in. When both sides aren't fully in sync, it shows up in subtle ways that fans might not immediately notice but opponents certainly exploit. Zooming out, the Cowboys' defensive struggles this season extend beyond the secondary. Linebacker play has been uneven. Gap discipline has faltered. Coverage schemes have occasionally left glaring holes. Diggs' return alone won't fix all of that, but it could allow the defense to be more aggressive, more flexible, more confident. Or it could expose deeper issues if the integration isn't handled properly. The discussion around Kenneth Murray underscores how interconnected these issues are. His physicality has been praised, but questions remain about consistency and impact. Comparisons to other linebackers only fuel debate. Changes in the secondary directly affect linebacker responsibilities, coverage drops, and run fits. Football is a chain reaction sport. Pull one link, and everything shifts. This season has become a case study in balancing short-term needs with long-term vision. Young players gaining experience is valuable. Veterans returning from injury bring leadership and talent. But blending those elements requires patience and discipline. The Cowboys are being tested in that regard, and how they handle Trayvon Diggs could define not just the season, but the next several years. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Your support helps us bring you deep dives like this every single day, and we want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now, as if the Diggs storyline wasn't enough, there's another development that has Cowboys Nation buzzing. Word around the league is that Carl Lawson, one of the most relentless pass rushers in recent years, has signed with the Dallas Cowboys. While the team hasn't gone into detail publicly, insiders suggest this move could dramatically reshape the Cowboys' defensive identity. Lawson is known for his explosiveness, his motor, and his ability to disrupt quarterbacks even when he doesn't get the sack. That kind of presence changes how offenses game plan. If Lawson is indeed in Dallas, the front seven suddenly looks terrifying on paper. Pairing his speed and technique with the talent already in place could create matchup nightmares across the NFC. Offensive lines would have to pick their poison. Double one edge, and someone else gets home. Leave Lawson one-on-one, and quarterbacks pay the price. This is the kind of addition that energizes a locker room and sends a message that the Cowboys are serious about defense. Sources suggest the coaching staff has been targeting a high-impact edge rusher for months. Lawson reportedly sat at the top of that list. If this move materializes as expected, it could trigger further adjustments, perhaps even more moves designed to capitalize on momentum. Veterans are said to be excited, already envisioning new blitz packages and stunts that maximize Lawson's strengths. As always with the Cowboys, some of this remains speculative, fueled by whispers and cryptic social media activity. But the excitement is real. A dominant pass rush can mask weaknesses in the secondary, shorten drives, and tilt games. For a defense searching for its footing, Lawson could be the catalyst. If Carl Lawson lives up to expectations, the Cowboys' pass rush could become one of the most feared units in football. Quarterbacks would be under constant pressure. Coverage would get easier. Turnovers would follow. It's the kind of domino effect that transforms seasons. Whether all of this comes together remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The Cowboys are sending a message. They are not standing pat. They are pushing forward, willing to make bold moves to reclaim defensive dominance. Trayvon Diggs' return, the development of young players, and the potential arrival of Carl Lawson all intersect at a critical moment. The next few weeks will tell us a lot. About Diggs' health. About the coaching staff's vision. About the front office's priorities. Every decision will be scrutinized. Every snap will matter. Cowboys fans should buckle up, because this storyline is far from over. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay on top of every development surrounding the Dallas Cowboys, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and drop your thoughts in the comments. We'll see you in the next video.